Hello students, this is Mrs. Sonal Patil. In our previous class, we have studied about bryophytes and pteridophytes. Today, we will begin with gymnosperms. Gymnosperms are naked seeded plants in which the sporophylls are aggregated to form cones. Most gymnosperms occur in colder climates of northern hemisphere. A few grow in tropical areas. These are called as naked seeded plants because the seeds are not enclosed within a fruit wall. The plant body here is a sporophyte, which includes medium sized or tall trees and shrubs. One of the gymnosperms, the giant redwood tree, Sequoia gigantea, is one of the tallest tree species. The sporophyte is differentiated into root, stem, and leaves. The root is taproot, and in some gymnosperms, the roots are associated with fungus called mycorrhiza, and example for that is pinus, and in some others are associated with cyanobacteria, that is blue-green algae, to form corallide roots. In cycas we can observe the corallide roots. So the fungus or the roots which are associated with the fungus called mycorrhiza in some gymnosperms, whereas in others they are associated with cyanobacteria to form coralloid roots which help in nitrogen fixation. The gymnosperms are heterosporous. Hetero means different. So different types of spores are present here, as they will produce two kinds of spores such as microspores and megaspores. Microsporophyll contains microsporangia that produce microspores. Megasporophyll contains megasporangia that produce megaspore. Microspore develops into male gametophyte while megaspore develops into female gametophyte. The gametophytes produce male and female gametes which undergo fertilization to form zygote that develop into embryo and the ovule into seed. So zygote develops into embryo and the ovule is developing into the seed. These seeds are not covered by a fruit wall and hence the name naked seeded plants. Example: cycas, pinus, netum, sequoia are the example for gymnosperms. So these were the characteristic features of gymnosperms. Gymnosperms are further classified into three classes. Cycadopsida, example is cycas, where you can see a male and the female plant. Next, Coniferopsida, example Pinus, where the leaves are needle-like. The Pinus is nothing but it is a tall cone-shaped tree. Netopsida, example is Netum. So gymnosperms are classified into three classes: Cycadopsida, Coniferopsida and Netopsida. Now, after gymnosperms, actually the chapter included angiosperms also, but angiosperms have been that particular concept has been deleted. So we will begin with plant life cycles and alternation of generations. So this is been included, and they have excluded the angiosperms. Its classification also is not been there. No characteristic features are not there, and classification also is not there. So that part of the part is been deleted. So we will study about alternation of generation. Sexually reproducing gametophyte stage is altered, or it is alternated by asexually reproducing sporophytic stage. It is called as alternation of generation. So here gametophytic stage alternates with the sporophytic stage. In plants, both haploid and diploid cells can divide by mitosis. This ability leads to the formation of different plant bodies, haploid and diploid. The haploid plant body produces gametes by mitosis. So the plant body which is haploid, it will produce gametes by equational division, that is mitosis. This plant body represents a gametophyte. Following fertilization, the zygote also divides by mitosis to produce a diploid sporophytic plant body. Haploid spores are produced by this plant body by meiosis. These in turn divide by mitosis to form a haploid plant body once again. Thus, during the life cycle of any sexually reproducing plant, there is an alternation of generations between gamete producing haploid gametophyte and spore producing diploid sporophyte. However, different plant groups as well as individuals representing them differ in different patterns, like following patterns. The first one is haplontic cycle. Here, sporophytic generation is represented by only one celled zygote. There are no free living sporophytes here. Meiosis in the zygote results in the formation of haploid spores. The haploid spores divide again by mitotically and form the gametophyte. The dominant photosynthetic phase in such plants is the free living gametophyte. This kind of life cycle is termed as haplontic. So remember here, sporophytic generation is represented by one celled zygote and there is no free living sporophyte present here. Meiosis is occurring in zygote, results in the formation of haploid spores, and these haploid spores will again divide mitotically to form the gametophyte. So this type of life cycle is called as haplontic cycle. Many algae such as volvox, Spirogyra and some species of Chlamydomonas represents this pattern. So this is about the haplontic cycle. Coming to the diplontic cycle, in this phase the diploid sporophyte is the dominant photosynthetic independent phase of the plant. The gametophytic phase is represented by single or few celled haploid gametophyte. This kind of life cycle is termed as diplontic. An algae fucus species represent this pattern. This is called as diplontic cycle, where the diploid sporophyte is dominant. In addition, all seed-bearing plants, that is gymnosperms and angiosperms, follow this pattern with some variations, wherein the gametophytic phase is few to multicell. So this is about the diplontic life cycle. So first we studied about the haplontic, and the second one is diplontic, and the third one is haplodiplontic cycle. Bryophytes and pteridophytes interestingly exhibit an intermediate condition. Both phases are multicellular. So haplodiplontic it is called as. However, they differ in their dominant phases. A dominant independent photosynthetic thalloid or erect phase is represented by a haploid gametophyte, and it alternates with the short-lived multicellular sporophyte, totally or partially dependent on the gametophyte for its anchorage and nutrition. All bryophytes represents this pattern. The diploid sporophyte is represented by dominant independent photosynthetic vascular plant body. It alternates with multicellular sporophytic or autotrophic independent but short-lived haploid gametophyte. Such a pattern is known as haplodiplontic life cycle. So this is intermediate between haploid and diploid. So here both the phases are multicellular and they differ in their dominant phases. So it is called as haplodiplontic life cycle. All pteridophytes exhibit this pattern. Interestingly, while most algal genera are haplontic, some of them such as Ectocarpus, Polysiphonia, kelps are haplodiplontic. Fucus and alga is diplontic. So remember, this question may be asked in the exam, alternation of generation, where you have to explain all the three: haplontic cycle, diplontic cycle and the haplodiplontic cycle. So this is diagrammatic representation of haplontic, diplontic and haplodiplomatic cycle. So please, along with the diagram, explain each of the cycle. So this is about the alternation of generation. And today we will stop here. In the next class, we will begin with the next chapter. Thank you.